Sorry about that. Just make
Good evening, I'm Laura Jones, host of New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones, and in just a few minutes we will begin our debate with one of the Republican candidates for the nomination for U.S. Senate, Mendham Mayor Christine Serrano-Glassner. She's going up against Curtis Bashaw, a real estate developer from South Jersey. The winner of June's primary election will go on to compete in November's general election for the seat currently held by Senator Bob Menendez. This debate is presented by On New Jersey, the New Jersey Globe, and the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. Both candidates accepted our invitation to debate. Curtis Bashaw canceled on Friday. As per the rules of the debate, we will move forward with Mayor Serrano-Glassner. She will have 90 seconds to make an opening statement. After that, our panel will ask a series of questions related to national and state issues and the campaign for U.S. Senate. We realize that any number of topics covered tonight we could easily dedicate an entire debate to, but in the interest of covering as many topics as possible, we will keep the conversation moving along with our timeline. Respectfully, I ask our guest to stick to her allotted time. If she goes long, I'm going to hold up my hand. If that doesn't work, I'll interrupt. And if that doesn't work, well, I brought the bell, and I'm not afraid to use it. The questions are coming from David Wildstein of the New Jersey Globe, Micah Rasmussen of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University, Matt Rooney from Save Jersey, and Joey Fox of the New Jersey Globe. We were prepared to have two candidates this evening, with each candidate having 1 minute to answer and 1 minute to respond. Tonight, only Christine Serrano-Glassner will be answering questions. My job is to be the moderator, not to take sides, not to give my opinion, and not to stick up or answer questions for the candidate who did not show tonight. So I'll moderate and keep this debate on course. New Jersey Debate Night is just getting started. Stay with us. First, though, here's a look at both candidates' launch videos.
That really take into consideration and listen to what New Jersey residents and business owners need right now. As a mom and a mayor, I see what's going on in this state. Parents are worried. They're worried about their children's future. They're struggling to make ends meet. Senator Menendez has been in politics his entire life. He's under investigation yet again. New Jersey deserves someone with integrity, someone who will work hard to tackle the tough problems that are facing all of us. Someone who will put us first. Someone who cares more about our families, our New Jersey families, than his cronies. Here in Mendham, we've focused on improving services while keeping taxes down. We've increased our open space. We have brought this town into the new millennium. That's the kind of leadership we need in Washington, D.C. I want to use all of my skills and my talents and my conviction to work for the people in this state. I'm Christine Serrano-Glassner. That's why I'm running for U.S. Senate.
There were a lot of reasons that our business shouldn't have worked. But brick by brick, guest by guest, challenge by challenge, to see these old buildings come back to life, abandoned though they were, recycled, restored, re-energized, and grow to become an economic engine in our community, a beloved place for our guests, and to have up to 1,300 employees working here, the car payments, the rent payments, the mortgage payments that depend upon this enterprise What a privilege. For me, our COVID years was a real wake-up call. The way the government took over the process and took over our destiny was shocking to me. There wasn't a seat at the table for us, really. They were going to tell us what to do, and it was one of those responses that was one size fits all. Here we are in a county whose economy lives on 3 months of the summer, June, July, and August. The lockdown happened in March. We knew we had about 90 days to get reopened. And so we went to work in our county to put together a plan. And it was a thorough plan. People put in hundreds of hours to write a thoughtful plan about the place we knew and lived and our businesses and how we operated. And we sent it to Trenton and we were ignored. And the fiat with which they would say, well, these pools can't open, your men's shop can't be open. Meanwhile, Walmart was an essential business. Their men's clothing store was open, but the little entrepreneur on Washington Street here in Cape May wasn't allowed to be open. The people were confused, and we needed to protect our liberties. And the ultimate hypocrisy for us down here, racing to get open for our summertime, being ignored in Trenton, was seeing our governor, with all due respect to him, marching in a protest march at the time we weren't allowed to associate on the streets. We can't sit on the sidelines and let this bureaucratic or regulatory class operate in an unregulated manner. And the check on that is our citizens. We're a country of self-governance. Our freedoms are our core values. A strong America needs a strong border. Number one, it's a huge issue for us to protect ourselves from this encroaching of people that want to hurt our country, from people that want to bring substances in here to make a quick buck and destroy our young people's lives, from those who just want to come here and hang out on social services. But there's also a whole raft of people that want to come to America to pursue the American dream, which is why our laws on our border need to be enforced and our immigration laws need to be fair and forward-looking to enhance the prosperity of this nation. I'm running for the United States Senate because I believe in freedom, security, and opportunity.
Tonight's debate is the second in the race for U.S. Senate, presented by On New Jersey, the New Jersey Globe, the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University, and Save Jersey. We hosted the Democrats back in February, and tonight it's time for the Republicans to take their turn. The two candidates running are Mendham Mayor Christine Serrano-Glasner and Curtis Bashaw, a hotel developer from South Jersey. That empty chair you saw represents his spot that we did save for him. Both candidates accepted our invitation. However, Mr. Bashaw canceled on Friday, and as per the rules, the debate will go on with Ms. Serrano-Glasner. Republicans and Democrats are battling for the seat currently held by Senator Bob Menendez, and primary day in New Jersey is June 4th. Our panelists this evening: David Wildstein, editor of the New Jersey Globe; Micah Rasmussen of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University; Matt Rooney, founder of Save Jersey; and Joey Fox, congressional correspondent for the New Jersey Globe. It is time now to meet our candidate. Christine Serrano-Glasner is the mayor of Mendham Borough. Mayor, we welcome you to debate night. Tonight is the floor for your opening statement.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks to my panelists, David, Micah, Joey, and Matt, and of course my opponent, the absent Mr. Bashaw. I want to talk about leadership and what it takes to serve people. I've been in leadership roles for more than half of my life. As a young woman, I started my career as a professional chef. I continued to follow a path of service and leadership throughout my career, which led me to government. With over 20 years in executive, both state and federal positions, I have well prepared myself to be your next senator. I'm Christine Serrano-Glasner, and I'm running to be New Jersey's next United States Senator. Leadership means courage. It means standing up to the swamp in Washington and delivering for New Jerseyans. It means fighting against costly legislation and regulations. And it means showing up for debates when you've committed to be there so that the voters can see exactly what you're made of and that you're not a chicken. Our residents deserve a leader that will bring integrity and commitment to this U.S. Senate seat. My family moved here in 1965, and I have loved this state ever since. My father was a former New York City cop. My mother raised our large family and helped support us with her own small Main Street business. As the middle of 7 children raised in the 70s, I remember living through a similar economy, disastrous economy like this one that Joe Biden has given us. I remember helping my mother come up with meatless recipes because at the time, many people couldn't afford to eat meat regularly. My husband and I have been married for 25 years. When it was time for our girls to go to school, we moved back to my hometown to be closer to my parents, and we started our own small business with which we support our family. We've been blessed to raise 2 lovely, tough Jersey girls who just recently had to be taught how to pump their own gas. As a mom, the mayor of my hometown, and small business owner, I personally understand and hear from New Jerseyans how this Biden inflationary economy, increased crime, and steady loss of rights are making working families and all of our lives difficult to manage and give us great concerns for our children's future. New Jersey and the nation have had enough of corrupt, self-centered governing. As a leader, my commitment to you is to bring my work ethic that has helped me succeed in life to represent you in Washington and deliver. My responsibility is to help return the peace and prosperity that our country had under President Trump. Now, as you know, I endorsed the president back in early January, a time when there was a wide field of presidential candidates and when that endorsement meant something. I did this because I knew that what our country needed was Donald Trump's courage and sound economic and national security policies returned. I stood by Donald Trump when it mattered, and I will work side by side with him to bring strength back to our great nation. So I thank you again for having me. I'm Christine Serrano-Glassner, and I look forward to elaborating on my true common sense positions during this debate.
Okay, we thank you for that. And it is time now to go to our panel with their questions. We're going to go first to David Wildstein of the New Jersey Globe. You have the first question.
Mayor, first of all, thank you for having the courage to answer questions about your views on some of the biggest issues facing our nation. But I want to start with the lion in the room, and that's Curtis Bashaw. What does it say to you about his character that he accepted an invitation to a debate and then ran away from the chance to offer Republican primary voters an ability to see where he stands on issues?
David, thank you so much. I'm really glad you're giving me this opportunity to get right to the heart of this. Curtis is a chicken. We know this because he had the opportunity to come on and debate me, and he chose not to. He has been disrespectful to all of you and to the voters in New Jersey. He is a Democrat supporter, and we have known that for a long time. We know that he's put Democrats over Republicans and yet tries to claim he's a Republican. He's really a New York Republican a New York Democrat in Republican clothes. And we see this time and time again for him. He's a tax cheat. He cheated on his taxes in New York. He did not have the leadership to stand up and say, you know what? I made a mistake, 10 years worth of tax cheating, but instead he blamed it on his management company. That's not a leader. He's been hiding. He's hiding as the fact that he hates Trump. I'm sorry, he's been a never Trumper for the last 8 years. He has shown us through his social media. He's even suggested, he joined on with the suggestion that President Trump is a threat to democracy, when we know, because Kennedy told us the other day, that really it's Biden who's the threat to democracy. He has been Christie's puppet. Chris Christie doesn't like Trump, and we know it. And he has aligned himself right with Christie the whole time. New Jersey cannot trust him. And we are very disappointed that he's not here today because he's a chicken, and I am not.
All right, we're going to go over to Micah Rasmussen of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. Your question.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Mayor. Does New Jersey have a Bob Menendez problem, or if he's just one part of it, what do we need to do to fix it?
Well, Micah, New Jersey does have a Bob Menendez problem, and it's gone on for decades. We all know that. He has been in government for 50 years, and he certainly has been in Congress for 30 years. And he has been enabled by his partners, Democrats, even Tammy Murphy, although she's not in the race anymore. After his 2018 indictment, she donated $5,000 to his legal defense fund. This is part of the problem. They've continued to enable him, and they've continued to foster his corruption. We need to face this fact, and New Jersey voters need to take a look at who they're voting for. It's a new year and it's a new time, and we're dealing with this very, very challenging economy. People are really suffering. I know because as a mayor, I hear this from people all of the time. It's time for us to clean New Jersey up. New Jersey deserves better, and they deserve a solid candidate like myself.
Okay, Matt Rooney is with Save Jersey. It is your question now.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor. Mayor, you know that the Senate is home to very big personalities who have very big differences when it comes to not just policy, but also how they present those differences in the Senate. So I think perhaps one of the best ways for Republican voters to figure out what kind of senator you might be, should you get elected in November, is which senator you would most closely attempt to emulate, both in terms of their views, but also how they comport themselves in the United States Senate.
Well, love it. Great question. I know my answer right away, and people are going to say, yeah, but he's not alive anymore. One of the greatest senators I believe we ever had was Bob Dole. And I knew him personally, and I really do try to emulate myself, even as a mayor, even as a mom, when I'm talking to people. He was fair and he was balanced. He was a tough negotiator, but he listened to people. And that's what we need in a senator. We don't need somebody who hides, somebody who is dishonest and doesn't tell the truth about their record and their Democrat leanings. What we need is somebody who really knows how to work with people and work across the aisle. In my own town, I win by 65% of the vote. Now, we don't always agree, but people know that I am going to do the best possible job for them and balance the budget and deliver the finest services that we can afford. And that's what I do. That's what I deliver. So Bob Dole, truly my hero, and he's the guy that I'm going to emulate when I get into the Senate.
Joey Fox of the New Jersey Globe, over to you.
Yeah, so I mean, Senator Dole left office almost 30 years ago. I think that few people would say that Congress is as effective now as it was during his tenure, just in terms of a basic functionality point of view. What would you want to do in Washington to increase that functionality? What kind of reforms might you look at that would make Congress simply work better?
Well, part of the problem I think that has happened to this, not just Congress, not just the U.S., but the world, is everybody's looking for the short buck right now. They're all looking for celebrityism. And this job as a U.S. Senator, and it is a job, it's a public service job. It's not a self-service job like Bob Menendez made it. It's for people to get in there and provide service for the people. And so getting into Washington and taking a look at things like these omnibus bills, nobody likes them. They don't work. I don't think they work for members of the House or the Senate. We need single issue bills. It's very clear and simple so we can see what's in them. We need senators to be held accountable for their actions and their words, and they should be monitoring themselves. We also need senators to take a look. I don't want to get into term limits, but the fact of the matter is some of these folks have been in way too long, like Bob Menendez. We need turnover, and we need folks that are coming in that really want to work and not just use these seats for their own benefit. That's my goal. That's what I will deliver.
All right, we're going to circle back around to David Wildstein. The next question goes to you.
Thanks. Mayor, one of the greatest responsibilities of a United States Senator is the confirmation of federal judges. And some of those names will come through the recommendations of your colleagues from Alabama and Arkansas and from Massachusetts and California. Would you be a reliable vote for a Trump judicial nominee, or would you be a reliable vote against someone named by Joe Biden? And what criteria will you apply? What questions will you ask of nominees who come to you seeking your vote to confirm them to a lifetime term on a federal court?
I think the records of judges is extremely important in how they voted. And it's the same thing I said about how Bob Dole was. Fairness. Are they looking towards the future? Do they have a plan when they're making, are they looking when they're making decisions regarding laws and our Constitution? Are they looking down the road and how that's going to impact people? I think that we've got some very good justices in. They came in during Trump's term, and I would absolutely be inclined to support a Trump justice. Biden, I'm not so sure. I think that we've got to look and see what they're delivering for the people and how serious they're taking their jobs. Seriously, they're taking their jobs. That's what I'll do. And I will focus and pay attention to exactly what they've done and what I think that they're going to deliver.
Okay, Micah Rasmussen, your question.
Thank you. Why and how is your candidacy the one that's going to finally snap a 52-year-old losing streak in New Jersey?
Well, I feel like I bring the whole Megillah, really, because of my lifelong work ethic, because of my career. I mean, I mentioned it before. I started out as a chef. I have direct connections with people that I work with, that I talk to every day, because I came from being a working gal who had to live paycheck to paycheck. But from there, I worked my way up. I worked my way up to executive levels in government. I understand what that means to work hard and to get there. And so I connect with people that are facing that right now, that are starting off in their first jobs or are retiring. As a mayor, I interact with people at every level in my town, which is the same in this state. I think that as a Republican, what's really critical is that we step out of our comfort zone. We're here to represent everybody. And so we should be doing that during a campaign. We should be going out and visiting areas and people that we might not normally, venture into for fear that we would be rejected or, hated. I'm not afraid of that. My courage takes me wherever I need to go. I do that now. And that's what I'll continue to do. I think that gives us an opportunity. I think the other thing is, remember, we're dealing in this Biden economy that is destroying this country. And voters are going to take a different look. They're going to vote in part with their pocketbooks. They can't afford groceries, they can't afford gas, and they can't afford to save for their kids' colleges. So they're going to be looking for something different, and they want a fighter, somebody that's going to fight for them, somebody that is not a chicken, that is not going to be afraid to even show up to a debate, let alone go down to Washington and fight on behalf of New Jerseyans. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to deliver that for them.
All right, we're going to go over to Matt Rooney. Matt, your question.
Mayor, in order to snap that losing streak that Republicans have suffered in New Jersey, you're going to need money, and you're going to need a lot of it. This is one of the most expensive states in the union to run a statewide campaign because we have the New York and Philadelphia media markets. You reported about $266,000 raised at the end of the last quarter, but only about $66,000 of those dollars was from actual donors. The rest came from you. So my question is, are you going to be able to raise the resources? Are you confident you're going to be able to raise the resources in order to compete with Andy Kim and everything the Democrats are going to throw at you over the course of the next several months, should you be the GOP nominee?
I am absolutely already competing. We have a plan. We've got donors that are stepping up. We know that across the board, across the country, it's been tough for anybody to raise money. We saw that with the RNC. But it's more than money. It takes a good, solid, qualified candidate. We also have seen Hillary Clinton. She outspent Donald Trump by 2-1. Congressman Kaine won, and he was outspent by 2-1. The dollars are different with every race. Just because tens of millions of dollars were spent in the last U.S. Senate race, all of the characteristics are different. We're dealing with this very difficult economy that Biden has given us. We're dealing with very high crime rates. People are going to look for something different. And I run a terrific ground game. It's one of my areas of expertise. So I'm not worried about the money. The money will come because I know I'm a good candidate. And people are going to be looking for that more than somebody who can just spend a lot of money. They want to see somebody who knows how to work hard and knows how to work smart. And that's what my campaign is doing.
Mayor, I just wanted to follow up real quick on that one about how much money that you have raised in that quarter that ended on March 31st.
But I don't understand your question. What does that mean?
Oh, just following up on the question about fundraising and how much money that you have raised since up until March 31st.
So we have raised money. We are working in a very economical manner because we haven't had to spend much money, and we've continued to raise money. I've got donors from across the country who have committed to me, and I'm confident. I'm confident that the money is going to come in.
Okay, thank you. Joey Fox, over to you.
Yeah, so shifting to a policy issue that I think is really important to voters of all political affiliations in New Jersey. The Supreme Court's Dobbs decision gave states largely free rein over setting abortion policies. But some politicians, some Republican politicians in Congress want to restrict abortion at the federal level. Are you open to supporting any type of federal anti-abortion legislation? And if so, I mean, how far do you think that kind of legislation should go?
Well, this is a really great question, and I'm glad this came up because this issue is something that the Democrats and the media have used to demonize Republicans. I mean, even your very question, you talk about anti-abortion. I don't know that pro-life is necessarily anti-abortion. And part of the problem that I see is that the Democrats and the media have decided that they get to define these terms. People should get to define their own terms. I, as a mother who had 2 children, 2 girls, and carried these babies to 36 weeks and 39 weeks, I know what that means. And I know that 75% of the people out there support some form of restrictions. But how about if we start putting Democrats on the hook? They're always, again, they're using this as a political football, and the people that are losing are the people. Women are the ones that are losing. Let's depoliticize this, and let's stop demonizing Republicans. I think Democrats need to step up and tell us where they stand on this. Are they for no limits at all? Are they for abortion at 40 weeks, 39 weeks, a full-term baby? In New Jersey, this is really not that much of an issue for us because we know that we have some of the most liberal abortion services in the country. It is in our Constitution, and women have choices here. When it comes to the Senate, my goal and my job is to be open to all legislation, to read legislation thoroughly, and to take a look. But until I know what's in there, I don't know what my position is going to be. I've got to see exactly what it is that they're asking for. But whatever decision we come to has to be one that brings us together as a nation. And if that legislation is not bringing us together, then we've got to go back and start from scratch and start talking again, because that should be the ultimate goal.
And Joey, you have a follow-up on this.
Yeah, I mean, so I understand what you're saying and how, if you get to the Senate, there might be all kinds of different legislation that's coming your way. But this is also an issue that, we can all understand in the abstract. What type of restrictions that you're talking about? You're saying that most Americans support restrictions. What kind of restrictions would you be open to supporting?
Well, we already know many people feel that in the case of the mother's life, rape, incest, we have to be flexible. I know as a leader that success comes from having a certain amount of flexibility. And we want to see success with this issue. I believe in 2 heartbeats. There's 2 heartbeats, not one. You have different sides. You've got extreme, and they both talk about mostly 1 heartbeat. We've got to unite that and realize that we've got to. We're dealing with infants. We're dealing with women who want to make sure that they're protected and we have their interests at heart. So I'm going to continue to make sure that I keep women first and foremost in my mind. But as a mother, as I said, and I got to do it. Sorry, but I got to show my girls off. Let me see if I can get that. This is why we're here. This is why I'm here, right? We do this for our children, and they are our future. And it's important that we continue to protect them, and that whatever decisions we make as a country, we have to come together. And I stand by that.
And I want to remind the audience that we did invite the other Republican running, Curtis Bashaw, to this debate. He did accept but canceled last Friday, so he's not here to answer these questions that we had for him as well. So as moderator, I'm going to keep our timeline and keep our questions going so we can cover as many topics as possible to help inform our viewers and the voters. So we're going to get back to our panel now, and David Wildstein with your question.
Thanks. I want to talk about foreign policy for a moment. What is your view of the Israel-Hamas war? Do you support Prime Minister Netanyahu remaining in office, or is it time for Israel to hold an election and allow their voters to consider replacing him? And the third leg of that question, Mayor, is do you support Israel's saber rattling against Iran?
You know, David, the thing that really bothers me the most, and we've seen, look, loss of life is just not something that works for anybody. We need peace in the Middle East. And under Donald Trump, we had peace accords that have been reached. And since President Biden has been in 3 years, it feels like this world is falling apart. Israel is our partner. In the Middle East, they are really our only partner that is helping keep peace, or has helped keep peace. On October 7th, and I can tell you, as a mother and as a woman who's married to a Jewish man, and we have raised our daughters with both Judeo-Christian values and beliefs, that was a terrible, terrible day. A terrible day. Israel has the right to defend herself, and we need to stand by our partner. Iran, tell me how long Iran has been our friend. As soon as Biden got into office, what did he do? He reduced the sanctions. He got rid of the sanctions and enabled them to earn hundreds of billions of dollars that they can now fund Hamas, the Houthis. I mean, look what the Houthis are doing in the Red Sea, and Hezbollah, all of which want to annihilate Israel. And guess what's going to happen after that? They're coming for us. We need to return to peace in the Middle East. And I know that we can do that with Donald Trump's policies that he had prior.
Okay.
When Donald Trump gets back in, we return those policies.
All right, the time is up on that question. We're going to go over to Michael Rasmussen. Over to you.
Great. Outgoing Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell says that he's going to spend the rest of his time in office fighting the isolationist movement within the GOP. Is he right about that?
I don't, Mitch McConnell was a great public servant, but I don't know that he has much of a fight left in him from what I see. I think that he should really spend his time enjoying his family and relaxing once he's out of the U.S. Senate. Isolationist movement, I don't agree. Putting America first means putting the American people first and not isolating from any other country. We are well involved. I mean, look at all that we do for other countries. I don't view that as isolationism. I view that as protection for the people in America. Look at the crime that has taken place in this country. It's completely out of control. Look at what's going on with our southern border. That's not isolationist. That's protecting our economy. That's protecting people from dying from fentanyl. That's what we need to do. We need a strong leadership down in Washington that's going to take care of these things that have not been taken care of. That's what I want to be a part of, to make sure that we are working together with people. But Mitch McConnell, it's time to retire, and it's time to enjoy your family and enjoy what you have left of your life. And I thank you for your service.
Matt Rooney, you are up.
Mayor, most Republicans would absolutely agree with you that crime is out of control. And one of the more disturbing forms that it's taken as of late is squatting, when someone moves without permission into someone else's property and then refuses to leave. It's all over the news. And just this week, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, pushed back at the press and said, well, it's actually a local issue, not one necessarily for the federal government to tackle. Do you agree with her that it's a local issue? And if you don't agree, what do you think that you could accomplish as a United States Senator to push back against this trend?
One thing that we know, and all of these squatters may not be coming from people who are coming across the border,
but that is a problem. And shutting down that border is going to shut down some of these problems. You have this young man in Ohio that was recently arrested who's encouraging people and telling them how to come over here and take Americans' homes away from them. In some instances, maybe it is local that they need to enforce their laws better, and they need, like New York, needs much better laws to protect people in their homes. But we know that this border is causing a lot of problems. People are coming in across this country. They're committing crimes. They are killing young women, and they are taking people's homes over. It's just the beginning. And so it needs to be stopped right at that level. And that is Joe Biden's responsibility, something that he could have done, and that would have helped with that. It sounds to me like it was a cop-out and an excuse from the press secretary. They always want to push it off onto somebody else when the going gets tough. It's time for them to step up and start helping fix some of these problems.
Okay, Joey Fox, your question is next.
I think that the vast majority of Republicans would agree with you, Mayor, that Biden's immigration policies have not been successful and that illegal immigration needs to be halted. I'm curious, do you also think that legal immigration should be limited, or do you think that the problems with immigration policies in America stem largely from illegal immigration?
Well, Joey, is there really any legal immigration anymore? I don't see it. I don't know if anybody does see it. And I don't think it's just Republicans, because I talk to Democrats all the time, and there have been polls. People are worried and they're concerned. The border needs to be closed, and we need to start from scratch. We really do. We need to take a look at all of these policies. For people to come over to this country, there needs to be a logical pathway. There are some, and they've improved them, but entirely too much effort has been put in by this administration into bringing people over instead of stopping people. People that, have committed crimes that come over here and are supposed to check in on a regular basis. None of that happens. People that are giving court dates that are 9 years from now. None of that is going to happen. It needs to be stopped. It needs to be cleaned up. We need to stop letting people kill our young women, our college girls. They're coming in here without any checks. We need to stop the fentanyl. Joe Biden has become the world's largest sex and drug trafficker, and we need it stopped now. We can't wait until Congress is going to do something about it. He's got the power. Donald Trump did it. We need to return to some of those policies that were in place so people can feel safer and our economy can be stronger.
All right, we're going to go back over to David with your next question.
Thank you. Mayor, who won the 2020 presidential election?
Well, such a debate, right? Here's what we know. And what you're really talking about, David, is election integrity. And we know in this country, we have a real problem with election integrity. In 2020, governors threw the rules out the window because of COVID. They brought in ballot boxes, which we know there was a lot of stuffing going on. They brought in vote by mail that people were not familiar with. We need changes across the board. We have problems with our voter rolls. I know that myself. I see it in my own town. I see it in my own county. People that are left on these voter rolls that moved out decades ago and have been trying to get off of the voter rolls, and they leave them on. This becomes a problem. So who won who won the election? We know that it wasn't a fair election. We know, and I think a lot of people would say to you, it was stolen. People don't want to hear you say that, but the fact of the matter is there was entirely too much suspect and criminal activity that was taking place. And the government doesn't have to admit to it, but we saw it happen. I saw it happen in New Jersey, and it probably happened in many other areas of this country.
David, you had a follow-up.
Yeah, Mayor, so I want to clarify this, and I wish that Curtis Bashaw was here so that I could ask him the same question, but he's not, so I can't. Had you been in the United States Senate on January 6, 2021, would you have voted to certify the results of that election, or would you have opposed it?
That was a tough election. And right now, looking back, had I been there, I don't think I would have voted to certify. There were too many questions. And I understand that people feel that they want to see an even process. They want to see a fair process. But too many people felt that it wasn't a fair process and that it wasn't done correctly. I wish Curtis Bashaw was here because he needs to answer a question like that. We need to give him the tough questions. I have the strength and the courage to come on here and take all of the hits, but he is hiding and he continues to hide from the voter, and that they will never get these answers out of him. I am very glad that I came here, and I don't mind answering these tough questions.
Okay, Micah, you are up next.
Sure. Mine is also related, and that is that Jack Ciattarelli told New Jersey GOP voters in 2021 that they can have confidence in our elections, especially vote by mail. He believes that it's a big strategic mistake to not trust vote by mail and to not vote by mail. We know that that's not former President Trump's position, and it sounds like maybe it's not yours. Who can Republican voters trust on this question?
Look, the system we have, and you shouldn't insinuate what my opinions are, because only I can talk about. Hold on, I got to fix my glasses. Sorry, only I can tell you what my opinions are. The vote by mail process is what we have, and it is exactly what people should use. People should also vote early because that's an option. We have to use every opportunity we have for voting, and especially, I want to make sure we get as many of our Republicans out. But going forward, we really need to take a look at this. You've got cities that are looking at letting undocumented people, illegal immigrants, they want them to vote. We need to take a look at exactly what that is going to mean in terms of integrity for this election. But right now, we have the system that we have, and we need to utilize it fully.
Okay, Matt Rooney, the floor is yours.
Back on the immigration front for a moment, Mayor. Immigration, we've talked about, is a major problem Republican voters are concerned about, but it's not even restricted to the United States. In France, they are actively considering ending birthright citizenship in one of their territories. It's something that has been discussed by various Republican elected officials and candidates in recent months as the immigration crisis has worsened at the border. Would you support ending birthright citizenship in the United States?
Well, what I would support is having a plan, because right now there is no plan. And that is exactly how the Biden administration has worked for the last 3 years. The immigration process that we have is non-existent. People are pouring in over the border, and they're coming here, hiding out. Many of them have no means of support. And a lot of them are coming here specifically just to have their babies so that they can have a place to stay and be supported for the rest of their lives. We definitely need to look at that. It's something that I think that we need debate and we need discussion on it. And we need to see if that would help and be a part of the solution. So I am definitely in favor of having those conversations.
All right, we're going over to Joey now. Your question.
Yeah, so an increasingly major policy issue that a lot of Republicans have focused on, especially at the state level, is related to transgender people and people who are transitioning genders, and implementing bans or limits on their ability to do that, especially minors, but sometimes adults too. Do you think that that is the right policy to go for? And if you were elected to the Senate, would you support some sort of restrictions on gender transitioning at the federal level?
Well, those rights are states' rights, and they need to remain there. People right now in this country, parents have lost rights, and it is critical that we keep that in mind, and parents need to be taken into consideration. I know people have all sorts of needs and sometimes wants, but to rush into decisions, to rush into major medical decisions before thorough psychological exams have been done, I don't know that that has been working. Other countries have started pulling back from that. So again, this is the same thing. I don't necessarily see this as a federal issue. I see this as a state's right. And we want to make sure that everybody feels that they are protected in this country and that this country is secure. That means everybody across the board, transgendered individuals, the queer community, the straight community. We want to make sure that they know that we have their best interests. This is for America, right? And we're just going to make sure everybody feels like we're taking care of them. But I just don't see it being a federal issue.
All right, we're going to keep moving here. We have one more round of questions. And again, a reminder to the audience that Curtis Bashaw, he was invited to participate and canceled, so we're not able to let him answer him or to defend any of these questions during the debate. David, we have one more round of questions. Your final question.
Thanks. Mayor, how would you balance making medicine and treatments affordable to New Jerseyans with the major role the pharmaceutical industry plays in the state's economy? Can you lower prescription drug prices without harming the ability of New Jersey companies to invest in the future?
Well, David, right now I'm sort of feeling like not only should I answer for myself, but maybe I should also be answering for Curtis since he's not here. Free market economy is what works. And that's what we need introduced into our entire healthcare system. The cost of going to a doctor has become unaffordable for people. The cost of prescriptions has become unaffordable, certainly for our seniors. The cost of healthcare, health insurance is outrageous. Even in my own town, health insurance went up 26% last year. And I read a memo today that said they're expecting it to go up another very large percentage next year. All of it, these rising costs are not sustainable. And the answer is free market. Free market will not necessarily hurt any of our pharma companies here in New Jersey. It'll make it more profitable for them potentially, but it'll make it more reasonable for folks that need medications and need, healthcare across the board. I think that's the only solution. I don't know what Curtis would say because we know he's not here. He was too chicken to come. He probably wouldn't have an answer at all. But again, I'm here and I'm happy to answer.
Okay, Matt Rooney, your next question.
Thank you. Mayor, one of the issues that split Republicans in recent weeks is TikTok, of all things. The U.S. House recently passed a ban to force ByteDance to divest TikTok or face a ban here in the United States. That bill could be on its way to the United States Senate. If it gets there when you're there, how would you vote?
Well, TikTok, we know, is a Chinese company. And China has been, due to Biden and Hunter Biden, who have a very special, very profitable relationship with China, China has been encroaching more and more on this country. Curtis Bashaw knows all about China because he was in business with a Chinese company in 2017 that was a part of the Chinese Communist Party. Now, he did divest in 2019, but he was still in business with them for 2 years. TikTok is a part of the Chinese Communist Party. And it is strongly believed that you go on TikTok and they have America's data. It is strongly believed that they influence people through TikTok. The Chinese government has been buying up hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland, a lot of which borders military property. Everything they do, we should be watching. And so TikTok, I don't really see the need for it in this country. I know that there are some folks that believe it's all about free speech, but I think that a lot of this social media, frankly, I personally don't see the need for. I'm not sure exactly how I would vote, but TikTok, I just don't think we need it anymore.
Okay, Joey, your turn.
One of the biggest topics in New Jersey politics right now is, of course, the county organizational line, the ballot design system that groups party-endorsed candidates together. Do you agree with the federal judge's decision striking down the county line for Democrats this year? And do you think that his decision should have also applied to the Republican primary, which it currently does not?
Well, what I know is I have worked very hard in this campaign. I have worked hard to get out to the voters. The judge made a decision based on constitutionality, and that is something that should be that should be for all people and all parties. My goal and my objective is to continue to run my race and to run it the very best I can and to connect with the voters, regardless of party lines, regardless of party bosses. That's my focus, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what a candidate should do here. I don't have any issue with how the balloting is done, just that people end up having an opportunity to vote, and I'm going to ask them to vote. I'm going to ask them to vote for me.
All right, and we're going to go.
So I guess.
Yep. Go ahead. Yep, Joey.
Sorry, just a very quick follow-up on that. The Republican chairwoman in your home county, Laura Marie Ali, has been one of the more vocal defenders of the county line in this lawsuit process. Have you spoken with her at all about this? Is this something that you two agree on, disagree on?
No, we haven't spoken because I'm extremely busy with my campaign. We haven't spoken for, not because I disagree or agree with her. Just this is it. This is my focus 24/7, making sure I get out to the voter. And that's what I'm going to continue to focus on, to win this race for New Jersey so that we can deliver peace and prosperity and better economic times for the voters.
Okay, and our final question of the night is going to Micah Rasmussen. Micah.
We always ask candidates to ask their opponents a question. Obviously, we can't do that tonight, but assuming Curtis will at some point face questions from voters, hopefully, what's the one thing that you would want him to answer?
Mr. Bashaw could have come out and supported President Trump months ago, but he waited until today, the very last moment, when an endorsement really doesn't matter anymore, because we know that President Trump is the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party. How does he think he's going to be able to connect with voters when he has shown and proven time and time for the last 8 years that he has not been a supporter of President Trump? He has worked against President Trump. And the Republican voters in this state are very much in favor of President Trump. A poll came out recently that showed Biden and Trump neck and neck in New Jersey. That's a lot to overcome for somebody who has worked against the man. That's my question.
Okay. And that is a wrap on the question and answer portion of our debate. Now, as time is winding down, I want to give Christine Serrano-Glasner 90 seconds for her closing statement.
Well, this was fun. I really appreciate it. It was great being here tonight. The bottom line for me is making sure that we have the strongest, most qualified candidate on that ballot. On that ballot next to President Trump, someone who has supported him, someone who the voters will know have his back. My goal is to work hard and try to help Republicans win up and down that ballot. My opponent has not been forthcoming. He is hiding. He chickened out from this debate because he's afraid of these questions, and he's afraid of going up against me. We all know that he is really not a Trump supporter. And that is who is going to need our support in order to turn this country back around and to get things on the right track now that Biden, in 3 short years, has brought this country to its knees. Economically, through surging crime, through health and life and safety issues. We need to get back on track. We need to provide peace and prosperity to people. That is not something my opponent could possibly understand, since he has not supported President Trump for years. But those are the policies of President Trump, and we need to bring that back. And I am here to help make that happen. Vote for me, and I will be going down to Washington to deliver back for New Jersey. I thank you so much. I am Christine Serrano-Glasner, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate.
And that concludes New Jersey Debate Night. I'd like to thank the candidate, Christine Serrano-Glasner, for her time and responses. Thank you to our panelists, David Wildstein, Micah Rasmussen, Matt Rooney, and Joey Fox. Thank you also to New Jersey Globe on New Jersey, Save Jersey, and the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University for producing this debate. And thanks to C-SPAN for airing the debate. We invite you to stay tuned, because immediately following this debate, we're going to have a conversation with our panelists to talk a little bit more about the debate and get their reactions and insight. I'm Laura Jones. Remember, our primary election day in New Jersey is June 4th. Head over to onnj.com if you'd like to see the debate again. We thank you for watching. Thanks for staying with us for Debate Night in New Jersey. I'm Laura Jones, and we just finished our Republican primary debate for U.S. Senate. The two candidates are Minda Mayor Christine Serrano-Glassner and Curtis Bashaw, a real estate developer from South Jersey. Both candidates agreed to the debate, but Curtis Bashaw canceled his appearance on Friday, so we proceeded with the only other candidate, Christine Serrano-Glassner. Our panelists are still here to discuss some of the highlights. David Wildstein is the editor of the New Jersey Globe. Micah Rasmussen is director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. Matt Rooney is founder of Save Jersey, and Joey Fox is congressional correspondent for the New Jersey Globe. Gentlemen, thank you all for staying. First things first, the elephant who was not in the room, Curtis Bashaw. David Wildstein, why don't you tell our viewers what happened?
Well, I don't know if it's an elephant or whether, I kept looking for Burt Lahr, the cowardly lion. I mean, this was a strange debate for all of us because that's the bottom line. Curtis Bashaw accepted an invitation to a debate and then decided after filing day, after one of the other candidates who had accepted, Alex Sedan, dropped out, that he'd rather not risk having a debate. This has just been a weird one. I don't think we've seen one like this, and I can't stress enough how important it is for a candidate running for a high office. I know that Curtis has never run for office before. He's a first-time candidate, but he's not running for town council. He's running for the United States Senate. That's a big deal job with a tremendous responsibility if he wins. And I think he's trying to skate through a Republican primary without telling primary voters how he feels on issues. And I think that's a problem, especially where you've seen polls that show that nobody knows who any of these candidates are.
Right, and that was going to be my point, is if you ask people who the Republican candidates are, they don't know, or if you say their names, they don't recognize them. Micah, what are your takeaways from the debate?
So I thought she did well. I thought she answered all the questions, right? But there were answers that will give her a hard time in the general election. They will probably help her considerably with Trump primary voters. But, when you say that you doubt the outcome of the election in 2020, when you say that you would not have certified the election in 2020, those are answers that are likely to give you some problems in New Jersey when it comes to the general electorate. And so those are things that can potentially come back and haunt her. And that, clearly, Bashaw's way to navigate that was to not to answer anything at all. To her credit, she put it all out there on the record. But I'm just saying, I think those are things that could give her a hard time in the general.
Matt, first time joining us for the debate. It's good to have you. What are your thoughts on the debate?
Great to be here. Well, look, as much as we can sit here and try to call balls and strikes and figure out who won on the points, this time it's a little bit easier since there was only one candidate. We know what ends up happening. The campaigns are now going to pull clips from the debate. So whether or not you committed any gaffes or whether or not you said anything that really struck or hit, that's often what ends up mattering. I don't think she made any major gaffes tonight, at least not for a Republican primary. She had a couple good lines. The one about Joe Biden now becoming, because of the chaos at the border, one of the world's largest human traffickers. I think that's something that resonates with Republicans. But it also illustrated candidly why we need debates. I think her issue knowledge with certain things, like, for example, with the TikTok divestment bill, was a little shallow. Candidates need to think about these things and know about these things because voters care about these things. So debates force candidates to get up to speed. So I think she'll probably be a better candidate coming at it tonight. And once again, not to beat the dead horse, but I'll give it one more swift kick. It's why we need debates.
Right. Joey, were you satisfied? Do you think that she skirted any of the issues? Was there anything, she had the full 45 minutes and then some, anything that you thought that she was really avoiding or was missing for you?
I mean, I wouldn't say that there was anything that she entirely skirted. I think that there were some questions where she gave a very definitive answer. I mean, I think, as Micah pointed out, the 2020 election question was a notable version of that. I think that there were some immigration questions that she really hit hard on. And then there were some questions that I would never say that she dodged, but I do think that we come out of it still not knowing precisely where her position is. And I think that that's abortion. I think that's LGBT issues. I think that there's a couple things like that. And that's, that is extremely normal for debates, even when there's multiple candidates running. to have candidates come out with positions that could mean a couple of different things, depending on the context and depending on what they want to do in the race in the future. One thing I also want to point out, given that we're we're talking about how Curtis Bashaw wasn't here tonight. I'm looking at Curtis Bashaw's website, and from what I can tell, it also does not have any policy positions listed on it. You are able to meet Curtis. There's his events, there's news. You can join him and you can donate to him, but you can't actually learn where he stands on any kind of policy positions. So tonight would have been the night that could have rectified that. We will have to do without. Right. So we're not really sure where Curtis Bashaw stands on most of these issues. He has not made it. He has not made his campaign one that will tell you exactly what he wants to do in the United States Senate.
Right, I noticed that well in trying to prep for this. There just isn't a lot out there. Any other past interviews, very, very limited amount of information out there. This has been a very crazy, a very intense week, even for New Jersey politics, and also kind of looming over this debate over the race for U.S. Senate is that federal court ruling that does away with the county lines. And so the audience understands when I talk about county lines in a nutshell, the line is how the ballots are printed, and it gives a preferred spot to the candidate who is endorsed by the county establishment. So it was ruled unconstitutional only for Democrats. David, that was stayed today by the appellate court. Am I correct on that?
Actually, it was not stayed.
Not stayed, excuse me, not stayed.
Right. So right now, Judge Qarashi's ruling stands, but the Third Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals has agreed to expedite that right down to briefs due in a couple days, and a hearing a week from Friday. That is pretty quick. And if you ask me what that means, I will tell you I have no idea, because this is all about how a panel of 3 federal appellate court judges are thinking, and they didn't show me the courtesy of putting me on a speakerphone and letting me hear their deliberations on the stay. So I don't know where it is, but I'll tell you one thing, and I'm certain that that a lot of people are. This is what I'm hearing from a lot of people. I'm certain the panelists here will agree. What's oddest is that how can something be unconstitutional for one party, but within the constraints of a constitution to another? I've never seen that before. I've never seen an issue decided by a federal judge like it's a little bit constitutional, or the Constitution applies to one group of people but not to another group of people. And I'm confident that that's going to be a major issue that the Third Circuit's going to have to discuss and take up.
Yeah, because Micah, Curtis Bashaw, he has more organizational support. He has more money. And the thought, even though we didn't get them on the record saying this, is, why come on and debate if, do no harm to your campaign? So if this decision does come out to where Republicans lose the line and it is unconstitutional for Republicans as well, how could that impact this race? Could this help Christina Serrano-Glassner?
Oh, absolutely. That's why you heard her speak about the line as not being a positive for her campaign. That's why you spoke about her looking for those constitutional protections that Democratic candidates and voters have, apparently, according to Judge Qarashi's ruling. She got 7 lines primarily focused in North Jersey, at this point, sort of a regional base. He got 14 lines in the rest of the state. And so he has that organizational support that he wants to hold on to. If all of a sudden those lines were to go away and the Republican primary an office block ballot, he would lose that advantage. And that really would be thought to be the kind of reset that we're talking about in other races that are taking place. And it would breathe new life potentially into her campaign, where she's got a better chance of maybe making the argument with Trump primary voters that she's their candidate. Arguments that Curtis might have a harder time making. And so, he doesn't want that reset. She's very much looking for the reset that a Republican office block ballot would bring.
Yeah, Matt, let me ask you, it's been 52 years, and I think Micah asked this question, 52 years since a Republican has won a seat in the U.S. Senate in New Jersey. So I just wanted to get your take and your thoughts on if there is a path for whatever Republican wins the primary in June. Is there a path for a Republican to mount a serious challenge to Andy Kim, who is the presumptive Democratic nominee? For the,
I'm a lawyer. I'm not a meteorologist, but when we hear them talk about perfect storms, a bunch of variables need to come together and conspire at the same time. You may actually have that this year. You've got Bob Menendez threatening to run as an independent. We call them unaffiliateds in New Jersey. And there's a new poll out from Emerson where I think he got about 9% of support, despite the fact that he's under indictment. It's New Jersey. Go figure. Don't know what to tell you. So if you have Bob Menendez in the mix, a Republican and a Democrat on the ballot, maybe RFK Jr. has someone running with him as a third-party U.S. Senate candidate, suddenly it gets very interesting. And a Republican doesn't need to get close to 50% to be able to win statewide. So I still think it's an uphill climb, but you could argue that it's more possible this year than it's been in decades.
Yeah. And this is New Jersey. You never know what's going to happen. We have Bob Menendez say that he is not going to be running in the primary, but after his trial is over and he believes he will be exonerated, that he's not ruling out entering in as an independent Democratic candidate in the general election. Joey, I'm going to give you final thoughts.
I think I agree with Matt on a basic level that there are factors this year that are combining to make New Jersey potentially more interesting than it often is. Bob Menendez obviously being the biggest one. I mean, you also the Emerson poll that was released yesterday also had a head-to-head between Biden and Trump, and it was Biden +6, I believe, which is pretty soft. I would be surprised if Biden ends up winning New Jersey by that small of an amount. I think that he'll end up winning it by quite a bit more when all is said and done. I think that the biggest impediment, honestly, to any Republican who is seeking the Senate seat is the obvious one, which is Andy Kim. He is likely to be the Democratic nominee. He is a very electorally proven candidate. And I think that either Serrano Glasner or Bashaw would have a tough time making big dents in him. But as you both said, there are factors this year that are combining in ways that we can't fully anticipate. And I wouldn't completely rule anything out.
Well, it certainly keeps our job interesting, that's for sure. We are out of time, and I'd like to thank you all for taking your time, not only for the debate, but the post-show. And we thank our audience for sticking around with us. I am Laura Jones. Remember, primary election day in New Jersey is June 4th. Head over to ONNJ.com if you'd like to see the debate again. We thank you all for watching.